Hi, my name is Cohen. I am President and CEO of Team End Racism, and I am 9 years old.
Awesome. Well, I'm Soraya, and it's nice to meet you.
I enjoyed reading your book. What made you want to write about a kid's book about safety?
Well, that's a really good question. So, I really wanted to write a book that parents and children could read together that would help address some of the things that are kind of uncomfortable to talk about. And I have little children of my own, and they had asked a lot of the same questions that I thought a lot of other kids have probably the same questions about. And so, I wanted to be able to give you and your parents a resource to be able to ask and have those hard conversations, but then give you the resources to be able to tackle them and feel empowered in how you then face different types of scary situations.
I'm wondering, what is your favorite safety practice at home?
So, my favorite safety practice to do at home is actually called an emergency scavenger hunt. And so, what I tell my kids and other kids to do is sit down with your parents and go through all the different things in your house that you might have that might help you be safe in your home. And so, what we do is we go through and we make a list. So, we're going to look and find fire extinguishers. We're going to look and find our smoke detectors. We're going to look and find our emergency kit. We're going to find the two ways we're going to get out of each room in each 2 ways to get out of each room in our home and 2 ways to get out of our house. And we come up with our list. And then I let each child take that list and I let them go off and I set a timer. And they have to go and they have to find each of these different things. And then they have to open them and find out where they are and write down, if they're old enough, the location of those items in their home. And it does a few things. It teaches you as a child where all of these things are in case you need them. So, one thing I found, especially being a parent, is sometimes we're not always there, right? Your parents sometimes go out to dinner or they go to work, and sometimes you might be home with a babysitter or a nanny. And so, being able to know where these things are in your home is really important because sometimes you're the leader in your house and you have to then help show other people where the things are that you might need in the event of an emergency.
Does
Okay,
that sound like fun, Coco, the scavenger hunt?
yeah. So, have you ever been in an emergency situation?
I have. So I live in California and we have earthquakes a lot. And it happens often where the earth this starts to move and our house starts to shake, and it can sometimes be really scary. And I was in an earthquake when I was a child, and I've been through a few as an adult. And it sometimes can feel really scary when you don't know what to do. So that's why in the book we talk about practicing, why it's so important, so that you don't have to think about what should I do in these situations. You already know. You respond to that. Um, Emergency and you know exactly what to do.
What kinds of safety practices and plans would you encourage kids and grown-ups to do together?
So the first thing I would say is sit down and start talking and have the conversations about where your smoke detectors are, right? What noises they make, checking the batteries. That's a really good one to do together. Another great practice that is actually kind of fun is to get a timer, set a timer for 2 minutes, and go and pack a bag, a go bag. And have your parents do it, have you do it as well, and see what you put in your bag in 2 minutes. If you only had 2 minutes to pack a bag to get out of your house that you'd have to take with you and you're not going to be able to come back, what do you put in that bag? And then after those 2 minutes, come back and sit in a circle. We call it a family meeting, and everybody brings their bag. And then we start going through all the different things in our bag. And why that's important is we as parents sometimes think what we know you want or what we think you might need might not be actually what you need. And when I say that, I mean a lot of the items children find, my children as well, are items I wouldn't necessarily pack for them. Now, your mom and dad are they're going to be responsible for packing like the emergency stuff, right? Your food, your water, you have medications and supplies and documents, but thinking about your comfort items, things that you might need if you had to evacuate your home. And that's really important because I don't know if you've traveled anywhere, if you've ever gone to travel and you pack your own backpack. Have you done that before? Where you pack your backpack for an airplane trip or a camping trip? Yeah, my kids do it too. And I look in my bag and I'm like, we have 400 cars, but we have nothing that we actually need. But that's important because those were items that were important to them. So maybe think about how you would pack your bag and some of the things that you might need and want, and then use that as a starting off point to start really thinking about the items that you might really need to be packing into your emergency go bag.
Well, I would bring a hammer, just in case we need to get out. Like if we're doing some kind of interview and there's a fire, we might have to leave and go out an emergency exit. Or if the doors are not working, we might need a hammer to break through the glass and break through the second layer to get out safely and run to a safe spot.
That's really great. And you're using your critical thinking cap and your skills to think about how you might use that special tool to help you if you've gotten a scary situation. So that's a really good way to think about all the different tools that you might have and how you might use them.
Like if we have a flashlight that doesn't run on electricity, we might need to use that to see each other because we don't want each other getting hurt.
Yeah, no, and you know what, Cohen, can I teach you a little trick and tell you about a little trick about your flashlight? Is if you're going to put a flashlight in your bag, take the batteries that are in the flashlight out and put them in upside down. And the reason I tell you to do that is because if your batteries are in your flashlight and then you're in your go bag or your kit, it's constantly pulling from that battery source. So when you go to use it, you're like, I haven't ever used my flashlight, but the batteries are dead. So what you do is you take the batteries out and put them in upside down. That way it's not pulling from that battery source all the time. And when you really need it, you just flip the batteries around and your flashlight will work.
Cool. Is that a good tip?
Thanks for the trick. So, what is one takeaway you hope people have after reading this book?
So I really wanted to talk about something that we call the elephant in the room. Have you heard that metaphor before? Or that analogy? We say the elephant in the room. Nobody wants to talk about the elephant in the room. So I really wanted to talk about the elephants, all the different elephants in the room, and give you guys the tools that you needed. And so if there's one takeaway, I wanted to help you guys start having these really important conversations that need to be had before an emergency happens. And I wanted to remove the paralysis or that scary feeling that you just don't know what to do in certain situations. So I wanted to give you that foundation or that basis to start having that conversation in a safe environment. And so the one thing, if you take anything from this book, it's okay to have really hard conversations. And the other thing that's important to know is it's okay if you don't know the answers to some of these hard questions. And my children have asked me questions that I sometimes don't know the answers to. And I want you to know that that's okay. And the way we get around that is we say, we've opened up this safe space to have that conversation. Let's go find that answer together. And it's okay for you to say, I don't know. And it's okay for your parents to say, I don't know. But part of it is just, let's have that conversation and start talking about the things that we just sometimes don't really want to talk about, but they're so important that we talk about them before something happens.
Do you have any tips for staying safe at school?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I would say things to be aware of are always listen to your teachers, right? Because they typically will have information sometimes that we as children sometimes don't always have. But you remember you were talking about knowing where your exits were? That's a really good one to know at school. So knowing where your exits are in your classroom, but also around your school campus. And then also take, something you can do with your mom and dad is walk through your school maybe once every couple months and identify all the school exits that lead out of the schools, your whole school site, and just walk around and see if they're locked. That's a really good exercise too, just making sure that exterior doors or gates are always locked. And then it teaches you, okay, there's more than one way to go in and out of my school, which is really important because sometimes one day you might realize I can't go a certain way. How else am I going to leave the school today? So that's a really good thing to remember and keep in mind. When you guys do exercises and drills, like you do, like earthquake drills at school or fire drills, is to start asking questions. Ask your teacher, ask your principal questions. If you have questions that come up about something that you're not sure of. And then another really good thing that you can do in your classroom, actually, when you go back to school, is look up and around you. And anything above 4 feet in your classroom should be bolted to the wall. And if there's bins or things that are above 4 feet that aren't secured, you could tell your teacher that you need to get them secured to the wall. Because if there was an earthquake, those things might fall on children. It might cause them to get hurt. So those are really good things that you can do right now in your classroom, is just look around and say, okay, what could potentially fall on us if there was an earthquake? And then tell your teacher, we need to fix this. And then how can you help fix it? So that's another way, is get other kids in your classroom involved in that process too.
Do you have any questions for me?
I do. So what was your favorite part about the book? Is there something that really stuck out to you?
I have 2 of them. It was like all the disasters that could happen and also tools.
I like that. Did you talk about the different types of emergencies that can happen in your area?
Ooh, not yet, but we will.
You wrote out your evacuation plan.
Oh yeah, I wrote out my evacuation plan.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you practiced?
I drew on my blank paper notebook like all the rooms, and I drew X's for emergency exits. So
That
like,
is
if there's ever an earthquake or something, we could like get out and run away as fast as we can, and because we don't want to be caught up in the earthquake and fall.
Right.
We just want to be prepared, extra prepared.
Right, buddy. It's important. Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have one brother, and he is 4 years old.
So as the big brother, you're really a big leader. So part of your emergency plan, and this is where you talk to your parents, is what should you do and who's responsible for helping your little brother, right? So if it's there's a fire, if there's an earthquake, what should you do in those types of situations, and talk to your parents about whose responsibility it would be. So like your cool emergency plan that you were just talking about, sit down with your little brother and kind of walk through and show him as well. Because I think he'll understand a lot more than I think you think he does. And if you teach him the same skills and all the things that you've come up with, now you're empowering your little brother to be proactive, and he will know what to do in certain situations. And that's really a great opportunity for you to be a leader.
Mm-hmm. I think he might be kind of scared when he hears of natural disasters like floods, earthquakes, fires, robbery, and by getting him prepared, he might feel like, okay, I'm prepared just in case this happens or this happens. And do you have any more questions for me?
Is there anything that you learned in the book that you didn't know before?
Oh, yes. To always know where your emergency equipment is. And always, sometimes the windows, they might look like normal windows, but they're actually emergency exits. Because they have 2 layers of glass, which you can slide, and then they have that little, tiny squares. That screen, which you can break through to get out safely and quickly.
Awesome. That is such an important skill, that you know how to find those things, because it won't just help you in your own house, but it'll help you when you're out at school, if you're out at the movie theaters, if you're out anywhere else. You now know to be aware and alert, and you're looking for those emergency exits, which is going to make you safer and everyone around you safer. So that's really cool.
For example, there's a fire or all of that, there's a fire on the perimeter of the theater. We need to know where all the emergency exits are and able to get out. out safely. And if there's a fire above our feet and there's like no more fire, we can just jump over it.
Right, knowing where all your emergency exits are. It's so important. And you'll know how, now you know where to look for them and you know what they look like, right? And you'll know where to find them when you go to different areas. So that's really cool.
Always important to be aware, like if there's any fires or robbery or any earthquakes, hurricanes or tornadoes or floods in your area, you always need to be looking out and okay, let's grab out our emergency supplies. It could be coming any day, any second. We need to be prepared like a couple days before a strike.
You really remembered a lot of really important things out of the book. And the other thing to remember is sometimes it's okay if you don't remember things to read it again. Because I think every time you read it, you might find something new that you didn't realize that you didn't know, or it just might sound different the next time you hear it.
It's been fun talking to you. Thank you for interviewing me.
It was so fun talking to you, Betty, and thank you for your time. And I'm so glad you enjoyed the book, and I really hope that it helps keep you better prepared.
Okay, bye. Stay safe and have a good time.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.